Are you ready to find your voice, fulfill your purpose, build unstoppable confidence? And are you ready to learn how to trust, accept, and love yourself enough to do the work to create what you want in life? Oh, and do you want to learn how to do it without burning yourself out, sacrificing what matters most, or compromising on your values? Then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Crystal Stanton, a certified coach, human design enthusiast, entrepreneur, and podcast host on a mission to guide women into their true, authentic success, to help them recognize their power and to step out from the shadows and into the woman they were always meant to be. Around here, we don't do grey, unaligned versions of our life. We don't settle for what we should be happy with. Around here, we do big, bold, courageous, fulfilled, rich lives, and we do it in an aligned, nourished, and truly authentic way. If that sounds like the life you want, then stick around and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode. All right. Welcome to another episode of Fearless. I'm Crystal. Welcome back. So today we are diving into one of the most misunderstood concepts around confidence. So previously we've talked about courage and how courage is the step before confidence. It's the gateway to confidence, which is the gateway to everything we want in life. We talked about the fact that both courage and confidence are muscles that we can build, put in the reps, and the more that we put in the reps, the more courageous and confident we become. We talked about the fact that neither of them are superpowers that we're born with, right? They're skills we need to develop, and we talked about the fact that it does not mean we're unafraid. So what I want to talk about confidence specifically today is this concept that confidence is a feeling. Think about it. When you talk about, describe, experience confidence, you're quite often thinking about feeling confident, right? I don't feel confident, right? Spoiler alert, confidence isn't a feeling. It's an action. Confidence is a skill, it is an action, it is something we do, it is not a way that we feel. Remember, we talked about courage isn't about not feeling fear. It's about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. So this is a doing activity. Confidence is an action, and it's built through the confidence-competence loop. Okay, so we're going to be talking about that today. We're going to break that down, and we're going to talk about how you can start building confidence today, even if you don't feel ready. Okay, so let's dive in and let's go straight to what we were just talking about. Asking yourself or thinking about, have you ever said, I don't feel confident enough to try that. I don't feel ready. I don't feel, right? We're always waiting to feel ready before we step into a leadership role, before we start a new project, before we start trying something outside of our comfort zone. Think about this. We want to try something outside of our comfort zone that we haven't ever done before, potentially, but we want to wait until we feel ready to do that thing outside of our comfort zone, the side of the zone where we don't feel comfort, but we want to wait till we feel ready to do something that's going to make us uncomfortable. That doesn't work, right? Do we see how that is setting ourselves up for failure straight away because we're waiting to feel something that is never going to happen? So, the truth is, you're never going to feel ready. You're never going to feel ready, especially when you're first starting out. Even if you've been doing it for a while, you're still potentially not going to feel ready, or you're going to grow and expand, and so your comfort zone is going to grow and expand, right? Even doing my podcast, I still get that little bit of, nervous/excitement, right? Of like, I'm doing this thing, like, I wonder if it's gonna be a good episode, are people gonna listen? So you're never going to feel 100% ready, especially if it's something you haven't done before, especially if it's you getting into the arena, putting your name in the hat, like whatever it is. what you're really needing to focus on and understand is that you're never going to feel ready. Confidence isn't about feeling prepared. It's about being willing to try. If I ever heard a better explanation or definition of confidence, it's that. Confidence is simply the willingness to try. That is all you need to experience and exhibit and use confidence, is having the willingness to try. That is all confidence is. Confidence is knowing you're going to suck at it, knowing you're going to be nervous, knowing you're probably going to fail epically when you first do it, knowing you're going to get the words wrong, knowing you're going to shake, knowing your face is going to go red, right? You're going to sweat, all of those things, but being willing to try it anyway. Okay? That is what confidence actually is. And this is where the confidence-competent loop comes into play. Because every time you have that willingness to try, right? You put yourself out there, you take that action, you do that thing. Maybe it's you press go live on your video, maybe it's you start a social media account, maybe it's you apply for that job you've always wanted, maybe it's even just updating your resume, maybe it's, telling somebody how you feel, putting yourself out there after you haven't been dating for a long time, like whatever it is. Every time speaking in front of crowds of people, like every time you take action and you do those things, you're either succeeding or you're learning, right? If you're not winning, you're learning. That's one of my favorite sayings. If you're not winning, you're learning. And every time you try it, you either succeed or you learn. Succeed, you learn. Succeed or learn. Succeed or learn, right? Win or learn. Win or learn. If you're not winning, you're learning. If you're not succeeding, you're learning. And over time, the more you do that, the more often you start to succeed because of all the learning that you've done, right? You've done so much learning about this task, this activity, this, frequency of repetition. Again, like I cannot, if there's a greater gift in the world I can give you, I can't think of it apart from tap into the frequency of repetition, because that frequency of repetition is where we succeed or we learn, which is how we get better at something. We increase our competence, and as we increase our competence, our confidence naturally grows as well. It's easier for us to do that thing. We do it better than we did when we started, so we feel brave, we feel more confident, or it's easier for us to move forward and hold hands with our fear as we step forward in courage. Okay, so it's really, really important that you are having that willingness to try. Every time you're trying something new, you're succeeding or you're learning, and both of those outcomes build competency. And with every little bit of competency, your confidence grows. It's a positive feedback loop, right? It's a positive feedback loop that starts with having the courage to try, okay? So courage, confidence, competence. Courage, competence, competence. Courage, confidence, competence. That's tricky to say, okay? But that is the goal. That's the goal here. So think about learning to ride a bike, okay? Or even learning to walk, right? You didn't start confident. You were wobbly, you probably fell over a lot. I mean, this is the phase that Evie is in at the moment. She does not want to take her training wheels off because she doesn't like when it feels wobbly, right? But every time you attempt it, you build your skill. Every time you fall and you scrape your knees and you get back up, you figure out a little bit more about how it feels on the bike, how to hold your body, what muscles to use, like where you went wrong last time. And eventually you could ride. And then eventually you could ride without even thinking about it. Okay, it's the same with any skill you have ever developed. There was not a single skill there's not a single skill that you didn't have to develop. Some things may come to you more naturally than others, especially, depending on your design and what you're here to do and all of that sort of stuff. If you have a line 2 like I do, there are going to be things that you naturally pick up a lot easier, but you still have to work on them, right? you're not going to be top tier at anything unless you're building the reps, right? You're building the repetition. So the same principle applies to anything in life. Anything in life at all. So here's another example. Trying out a new role at work. Okay. And I'll share my personal experience with this, right? But let's just start with this. Trying out a new role at work. You're either going to excel at it or realize it's not the right fit. Either way, you're going to learn something valuable. Okay? Over time, as you keep trying it, your brain begins to lower the resistance to the activity. It starts to feel less intimidating and, more natural, and you figure out how to do it and you get better at it. Confidence, competence loop. Like when I started teaching, I did my teaching diploma, my graduate diploma in education. So it was like a year of learning how to be a teacher. I think I had maybe 10 weeks in a classroom with another experienced teacher in the room with me. And then I became a teacher and I went out and was in front of my own classes and I was like, holy hell, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing. This kid is taking his shirt off in front of the class. This kid's leaving the room. Everyone's calling out. I don't know what I'm doing. I am not prepared for this. I had all of the knowledge and understanding. I knew how to plan a killer lesson, all of that. But there was a lot of shit I didn't know because I hadn't practiced it yet. So I had to be so willing to try. I had to be so willing to admit that, I really don't know what I'm doing here and I need some help and get people in, and be willing to teach in front of experienced people and get them to critique me and give me feedback and suggest how to do better, and then have the willingness to try to implement those things. And over time, I became an incredible teacher. I was an incredible teacher. And then I decided because I had had so much incredible support, I wanted to be able to do the same thing. And I think, I don't know who it is, I think I've seen it as a Richard Branson quote, but it's something along the lines of apply for the job and then figure out how to do it. 100% was my motto in my teaching career. I was been teaching for a year. I'm yeah, I want to apply for a year level coordinator job. I have no idea how to do it. I'll figure it out on the way, right? Yeah, I want to apply to be a support teacher of literacy and numeracy. Why not? I'm sure I could figure it out on the way and applied for it. Oh, of course I want to be a head of curriculum in a primary school when I'm a high school trained teacher. I'm sure I can figure it out and learn along the way. And I just continued to do that over and over again, and became a head of department and was, overseeing a team of teachers and leading educational reforms and leading teacher training. And none of that, I was not prepared or trained for any of that. It was all new to me. Every single time it was a new role, but I just had the courage to put my name in the hat. Yes, I'm trying to morph two different things. Put my name in the hat, right? Put myself in the running for the position. And I was able to articulate how I thought I would be able to do that position. And then once I got it, I tried it, right? I always had the willingness to try. And a little bit of this does require you to be able to put your ego aside, right? Your unresourceful ego aside. You have to know that you're going to suck. You have to know that you're not going to be perfect at it. You have to know that you're going to make a million mistakes, and you have to have enough resilience and persistence to acknowledge that and own when you get it wrong and learn and grow from others. I was a very young head of department. Do not think for a second I walked in there with teachers with 15, 20 years experience and thought I knew more than them and knew better than them. Absolutely not, right? I learned from them. That's how I've always liked to do things, collaboratively and co-creatively. I really believe in that kind of leadership model where we walk alongside and work alongside and grow and learn and fail together, right? So this is my example of the confidence-competence loop, because the more I had the willingness to try and I had the ability to step through the gateway of courage and hold hands with my fear that, all of these experienced teachers are going to judge me and they're not going to think I can do this job, and I'm going to have to create relationships with people who don't necessarily want to do things the way we as a school want it to be done, and all of that stuff. The more I did it, the more competent I became, and the more confidence I felt, right? The more confidence I cultivated. So that's my little example of that. And I mean, after that, I then decided, yes, of course I can start my own online business with absolutely no skills, no knowledge, no prior business training. Like, of course I can. I have the willingness to try. I think if there's anything I have nailed in life, it's having the willingness to try. I have so much willingness to try almost anything because I'm able to just accept that I'm gonna suck at it, and that's okay. Like, it's totally, totally fine. And also being able to learn to hold myself in those setbacks, in those challenges, to have the resilience to keep going, the persistence, and also the ability to know when, well, actually, it's time to put that down and pivot and evolve and grow and expand and move in new ways. But every time I do that, and that's probably why people come to me now and say, oh, you're so confident and you're so courageous and you have so much courage and you're so confident. Well, it's just because I've had the willingness to try so many times, right? So I've experienced failure and setback and rejection and like getting it wrong and messing it up and sucking at it and doing it well and having the success and getting the reward for my persistence and being rewarded for my willingness to try and put myself out there, right? You get both, right? Both sides of the scale. And that is why I now have the courage and confidence that I do have, because I have been so willing to try in the past and continue to be willing to try and continue to be open to learning and growing and expanding. So, your takeaway for this, your practical takeaway to start practicing this thing of having the willingness to try so you can increase your confidence-competence loop. I want you to think about what's one thing you've been avoiding because you don't feel confident. Okay, what's one thing you've been avoiding because you don't feel confident? And I want you to write it down. Okay, these takeaways are always going to be very simple. Okay? What we actually need to do to create the life we want is always simple. It's just not always easy. So write down that thing you've been avoiding because you don't feel confident, and guess what you're going to do? You're going to take one small action toward it. That's it. And you're going to do that over and over every single day as you grow your confidence-competence loop and experience things shifting and changing around you. Remember, everybody starts at zero. Everybody starts at zero. If you're comparing yourself to someone who's not at zero, it's because they've had the willingness to try for longer than you. That's it. That's all. That's the only thing. They've had the willingness to try more often than you. So they're not at zero anymore. So don't look at them and compare yourself and get sad about it. Look at them as an example of, oh, if I keep having the willingness to try over and over again, I'm going to get there. I'm going to get off this zero starting point and I'm going to get there. It might take you longer than them. Maybe, maybe not. But you're never going to get there unless you have the willingness to try. So again, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Every day we want to be taking imperfect action in the direction of our dreams. Alrighty. Just some reminders before we finish this episode off. Remember, confidence is built one step at a time by activating our courage first, by trying, learning, growing. That's how you create the momentum that carries you forward. So don't wait to feel confident. Start building it today. Hold hands with your fear. Step through the gateway with courage into confidence and start having that willingness to try. Okay, thank you for tuning in. And next episode, I'm actually going to give you 5 tools that you can use to build unstoppable confidence. All right, big love. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I really hope you received exactly what you needed from it. I absolutely loved sharing it with you. I'd also love to know what you thought, so please leave a comment or review for me to respond to, or just come over and say hi on my socials. If you'd love to be a guest on the show, or maybe you have a question or a topic that you'd like me to talk about, then please send me a message. I absolutely love to connect. And really, this podcast is all about you. And your success. So tell me what you need to hear more of. If you really enjoyed this episode, please give it a like, or even better, send it to someone you know to spread the love. Let's get this authentic success movement happening. Okay, that's it from me. Big love. Now go out there and be amazing.